Again, good morning, fellow Africans. Is the redemption strategy needed in Africa now? The topic of today, the answer is yes. Many of you who have heard me speak for several years about a redemption strategy would agree with me that I told you. I've told you time and time again that any nation in Africa that does not heal, it can't have peace. What is a redemption strategy, therefore? A redemption strategy is accountability, is truth, reconciliation, restitution, reparation. Mark those words. Is truth telling, reconciliation, restitution, reparation, and one major word, accountability. That will create a redemption strategy in Africa. Colonial boundaries put us apart in several countries. Also, colonial boundaries lumped us together in several countries without people wanting to belong, but they found themselves belonging, cut through in the middle. Take, for example, the Biafrans, or the Igbo of Nigeria, or the Yoruba, or the Fulanis of Nigeria. Those are the major three Shuj, or the Hausa, or four Shuj tribes in Nigeria. They all need a redemption strategy. They were put together. Captain Lugard, 100 years which has passed long ago, just came and created a trading company. Nigeria was listed on the stock exchange as a trading company. The kingdoms were amalgamated, put together forcefully by force of arms that came through the ships on the Atlantic Ocean and the fighters that were trained. It was named Nigeria. But is it together? The answer is no. To the Fulanis, the Hausas, the Yorubas, the Igbo behave the same. The answer is no. Do they have the same habits? Every time you open up a television station in Nigeria, murder, kidnap. A report yesterday, several parliamentary group itself now admitted, the parliament, the assembly, National Assembly of Nigeria in Abuja admitted that kidnap, abduction, terrorism has become the main source of income. Billions and billions of dollars paid to bandits, to kidnappers, by families, by relatives, by government, to rescue people. Has this state, or are these states in Africa collapsing? Have they collapsed? The answer is yes. They are heading for collapse if they haven't had the final fall. Across the entire Africa, you see a lot of strife, conflicts, people fighting each other, people killing each other. Wars in DRC Congo, you see the war between the Tutsi, so-called of the East, or the tribes of the East versus the tribes of the West, the West doesn't recognize the East in DRC Congo. in many other places in Africa, the conflict in South Sudan, it's purely lack of a redemption strategy, the healing process. The lack of accountability has kept the war in South Sudan still on. As we speak today, Riek Machar is under house arrest. We don't know what will happen if Salva Kiir, God forbid, goes away without a successor. The country will plunge into a battle of all battles because there is no redemption strategy. Libya, for example, is divided into two: Benghazi and Tripoli, supported by mineral hunting merchants of conflict, namely the French and other countries that have gone into Libya to siphon the resources, the rare minerals, the rare gold, oil that they are taking. Sarkozy's companies buying diamonds, buying oil at a cheaper price, storing it in France, cheaply, stealing it. They have made the Benghazi faction hate the Tripoli faction. In the Sahel region, you see the what we call clouds, signs. When the cloud, the Bible said, when you see the signs up in the sky, you know there is something that is wrong. We see these signs becoming of conflicts, huge conflicts. Across in East Africa, we see an external sponsored regime change mechanisms put on countries that were once stable begin to shake. These are signs that should show us that there is a need for a redemption strategy. I have emphasized this for times, years and years. Back as for us in Uganda, we took one step forward. The end of the war in 2008 between General Museveni and General Kony, of which I took part and silenced once for all through discussion and through a redemption strategy, which I created, healing, alternative mechanisms of justice, not a retributive type of justice that the white democracies want us to take against our own people. Alternative justice systems worked in Uganda. Alternative justice systems have worked in Rwanda. You saw Rwanda in 1994 went down. The Kajaja courts. South Africa had apartheid. You saw TJRC. Isn't it time for us in Africa that we looked at a new order of how we can live together? The opposition and the government. Is democracy working in Africa, therefore? I don't think so. Because democracy is an alien concept that all of us in Africa have never come to the terms that such an alien concept is a divisive mechanism to keep Africa divided and rule. It is a doctrine that was embedded in the colonial coming of a Bible land. While you read the Bible, they are facing the land. While the land is being faced, they tell you to go for elections. Are you not seeing this? What are the causes of these conflicts? Countries like Tanzania, where you used to have peace, something seemed to be cropping in. Someone wants to fragment it through external funded George Soros outfits of international CIA mechanisms that killed Congo. Patrice Lumumba went down. The Secretary General of the United Nations went down. Cameroon, look at southern Cameroon, people dying. Look at Biafra. In Biafra 1967 war. To date, the southeast and the southeast of Nigeria, those Igbos, the Biafran people, they have never come to terms. Over 80 million people subjected by a few generals from the top who have dominated the army. They ruled that country by force, by rule of an armed type of earth-scorched policy, killings. There is need for redemption strategy. Across in Zimbabwe, look, the strife between the opposition and others going out like one man called Getha trying to tell the world that I want to come and overthrow the government of President Emmerson Mnangagwa. Why? Redemption strategy is lacking. There is no need of going out to, no need for armed struggle anymore to liberate any state. There is need for discussion, to sit down on table. Sudan, I've just spoken about it. Redemption strategies collapsed. The two generals overthrew Bashir. I warned them in my letter that you have brought a Pandora box. You have opened gates to hell. My letter can be found on www.panafricanforumltd.com. I wrote to the two generals, warning them that once you bring in ICC and the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court running to Khartoum, that he wants to be given Mr. Bashir to go and score marks on retributive justice, you will break your country to pieces. They never listen. Matsanga is still here. And I'm asking, what have you seen? What has happened in Khartoum? Have you seen what has happened in Khartoum? Have you seen what has happened in Sudan? What is happening now? Did they listen to Matsanga? They rather listen to professors and whites, Arabs and other people than listen to black men telling them, you are breaking down this country. You are creating chaos for yourselves. Now see what Sudan looks like. Ladies and gentlemen, in a redemption strategy, you have quite a lot of things. You have healing, accountability, reconciliation, reparations, restitution, truth-telling. Come out and shake hands. Don't shake hands for convenience and expedience or politics. Shake hands with an overall act of redempting that never should this happen again. This is what I'm going to preach. And I want those who need help to talk to me. I have that value. We worked out a value. Uganda can have, you can call Uganda anything. You can enjoy, you can harass President Museveni, you can call him names, you can call Dr. Matsanga names, you can call Rugunda names, you can call anyone, call us all the names. But there's one thing we did for our country. We redempted. The Northerners, the Luo community, redempted, work together with the Bantu of the South. If there is any other conflict that could come, it is not mine. It is not ours. We finished. We put a commission, an amnesty commission that allowed alternative mechanisms. People without crimes, alternative mechanisms, small petty things. We do what we call a transitional justice, where people came back and said we are sorry, where people came back and jumped what we call mataput. It was my design in Juba. For those people, younger people, some of them who see me, they think that I'm just a street man walking around London and that some cities thinking that I have resolved the war before, a very one of the worst wars that you can ever talk about. And let some of the people in the region listen. This was not an easy task. It was one of the toughest tasks that I have ever encountered in my life. To go and face someone who has killed over 1 million people. To tell him, please, I want you to come and sit on table. He asks you questions with his over 300,000 men in the forest scattered, looking at you every angle you move, even when you go to the toilet. It was a very daunting task for us, Chisano, Rwakana Rugunda, myself, Dr. Riek Machar. But we managed to bring peace. We pulled peace. Uganda can they can go to their elections. I'm no longer interested. I'm a retired man from the Uganda politics. I don't want to discuss the internal dynamics of Uganda politics because the opposition is worse than itself. There is no opposition in Uganda because it doesn't work in unity. It works in a fragmented format. And the President Museveni will win again without them even anything. He will win. Yes, I don't think we need to even hold election because they are not prepared. The opposition is fragmented, completely fragmented. Everybody wants power. Mathanga, I'm not interested in power. I'm interested in peace. Once there is peace, people will live. They will eat. Uganda has enough food for everybody to eat. So I am not worried about that. But I'm worried about states in Africa which I see gravitating towards conflict. Yet the simple mechanism is a redemption strategy. The 5 pillars which lead to healing. The nation comes back and they heal. They talk. Let's talk frankly. Let's open up our chests. What is the problem? What is the problem? Let's not have external influence of George Soros. I have always maintained my stand up to the end that George Soros is one of the few outfits of Open Society Foundation that has created violent regime change. I encountered it in Zimbabwe when they wanted to overthrow President Mugabe. I disagreed with Tony Blair. Ask him, he's here. He walks around the towns in Nairobi, in Dar es Salaam, in Kigali, in Uganda, looking for jobs. But I told Tony Blair, please don't try this. Engage Mugabe. Don't isolate Mugabe. From 1998, I've struggled for this nation called Zimbabwe. I've never been paid even a single coin. I hope one day Emerson Mnangagwa, before I go down to the Maker, will come back and say, hey, you have suffered enough for this nation. Let me give you some money, or some land, or some house, or some reward, a recognition for your fight for this nation. I did. And I've told him a redemption strategy at the moment can bring people together. The opposition does not need to be fighting you. Because opposition in Africa have not grown to the level of tolerance. Democracy takes time. It evolves. It's not simple that you can create a democracy today and move and it works. Britain took 1,000 years. They want us to make democracy in 60 years. It's impossible. So all of us in our countries in Africa, across Africa, look at in Biafra, you need redemption. Mr. Tinubu, you need to talk, to tell the people, to say there is something wrong with Nigeria. You can't have people dying every day from human, then natural, then even now terrorists. A government supporting its own terrorists to kill its own people. The army turning on the people in the Biafra land. Igbo people, perishing them away. Isn't it time for you to sit down and rearrange yourselves and say, what do we do? People want a political solution. What is the political solution in Nigeria, for example? A referendum. Put it there. You can put it and stagger it like the EU. The European Union referendum against Britain, they staggered it. Are they not living together? You can share. It's unfortunate that we have people dying every day, yet we have a strategy that can bring people together. South Africa, after Mandela came out of prison, put a TJRC, Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission, headed by Bishop Tutu. Colombia, the FARC rebels, you see what they have done. They put there the same commission. Where else? Sri Lanka, you see what they have done. Before this other man became so corrupt and he was thrown out. All these states that have gone through upheaval, they have come back to a realization that the only way that we can create a harmonious state is to have a redemption strategy of truth-telling, reconciliation, forgiveness, restitution, reparation, accountability, and then healing. If you have those, the product will be healing. The nation will move. And the nation will move in a better direction. Better than any other thing that you talk about. My brothers and sisters across the continent of Africa, time has come for you to take a redemption strategy. It is the best thing that you can ever have as Africans. The politics of competition, the politics of cheap competition. Most of the African countries have what we call presidential style of governance, which brings more conflict than solutions. Why do you have an election? Then you have 7 judges to look at an election which 90 million people have taken part. What is the use? In Nigeria, what was the use? 94 million people registered. Only 24 turned up. 26 turned up. 68 did not turn up. They went to Atlantic Ocean, disappeared, now they have come back. Because the election was not properly held. That is one of the areas that African countries should look at. Do elections in Africa serve the purpose or create more chaos? Every part you hear about elections in Africa, people are geared towards killing each other. Because you have wrong presidential style of system. I've lived in the United Kingdom here. I've lived there for 40 years. I've never had a losing prime minister going to one of the high court in Old Bailey accusing the other. No, I've never. I've voted for 38 years. And I've been voting Labour. We lost until we got in a vote in 1998. Then Blair also started misusing it. We lost again. And then recently we got it back with my friend Stammer and David Lammy. We have got this thing back. In Croydon Central, we won the seat. In Croydon West, we won the seat. I have been part and parcel of a participant in these elections of UK, but I've never seen people accusing each other because they have a system which is very smooth. It's very smooth. South African model, Liberian model, Ghanaian model. These are Senegalese model. These are simple examples in Africa where you don't need to go to a second-tier system to validate your vote. These are some of the things that we need to chat on these platforms. And I will continue giving you advice. Those who want to contribute to my debates, you can always donate. My PayPal will always be under this thing. Donate for me to do more research. But my Matsanga redemption strategy still stands. It is the only way that Africa can progress. Without a redemption strategy, your countries are at the peril of disaster. Thank you very much for listening. Continue watching this space. Thank you.